Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goddess, a podcast dedicated to you living your absolute best life, where you feel confident, powerful, and full of joy. So my main jam is helping entrepreneurs, creatives, and those who run their own businesses, right? Generally speaking, they have more control over their life, when they work, how much they work, and how much money they are available to receiving. Typically, employed roles have more strings attached. But that's not to say that if you work a 9 to 5, or you work part-time, or you're a student, you're doing a university degree, you're retired, that you won't find this podcast useful, because you will. I aim to make my free content like this podcast as useful as possible for all folk, for all kinds of people. When I talk about unleashing your inner goddess, that inner being, I'm talking about peeling away layers that you've put on, layers that aren't really you. Maybe you layered up because you saw others being that way. Perhaps it was so you didn't disappoint your mother. Maybe you layered up out of fear of rejection, as a protective armor. Maybe you knew no other way. And these layers I'm talking about, we put them on over the years without even realizing. And they can take us so far away from the real us, we don't often know who we truly are anymore. And layers can be applied by others as well, right? And then we accept them as our own. So perhaps you were always the, quote, happy kid who was always smiling, and now everyone refers to you as the smiley one. So you feel like you can't show how much you are actually struggling in front of others. Or perhaps the layer somebody else put on you was that you were confident, or that you were quiet. So you put on that mask of confidence despite feeling afraid and so not confident. Or you put on that mask of being quiet, even though you want to go on stages and talk about what you're passionate about. But you feel trapped by this layer of quiet and the thought of quiet people don't do that. I can't do that. I need to settle for less. Maybe one of your layers is that you are forever skint, forever living payday to payday. And so you live up to that persona, subconsciously, right? Despite you wanting an emergency fund for when things get tough. We can all have many, many layers, but we can remove them if we really want. If we really want to discover who we actually are, what we're actually capable of, and what we're actually made to do. And sometimes this is easy, and other times it needs to be a conscious choice, right? Every day to pick away at that layer, reprogramming your brain to learn a different way of being, because you've been carrying around these layers all your life. It's difficult. And coaching massively helps with this, as naturally we want to stay comfortable. We want to stay in our comfort zone, even though that comfort zone is no longer serving us, because it feels safe. And sometimes safe is just easy. It's easy to stay there. And a good coach will guide you to explore what is actually going on, and will help you uncover a way that you can move forward that feels good to you, and move forward into growth and shed those layers that are weighing you down and keeping you stuck in a way that feels possible for you to do, not wildly out there and really uncomfortable and scary, and it will feel achievable. And this podcast, and my aim as a mindset coach, is to help you start to shrug off those layers, start to peel them off, and discover a little bit more about who you are, and help you unleash your inner being. Whether that's an inner goddess, a badass, a boss bitch, hero, anything else. It's to get you back in the driver's seat and taking control of the wheel so that you can actually reach your destination of choice. And I love a good analogy, and I'll come back to this analogy later. And my part in this, in you driving that car to your destination, and the car is your life if you haven't figured that out, my part in this is to act like the sat nav, but hopefully minus the annoying voice saying, make a U-turn, make a U-turn. I'm going to help you see that there are multiple paths to your destination. And we don't need to see the destination clearly, right? As the destination isn't really a place as such, it's more like a feeling. How we feel moving through our life and how we feel at the end of our life is more important than how much money we have or what kind of house we live in or how we project on social media, where we live, etc., etc. So I want you to sit with yourself somewhere that you find peaceful, okay? So I like to sit in my garden when it's nice, listening to the world go by, listening to the birds. Yours might be in a coffee shop, with a bit of background bustle, or on a park listening to kids laugh and play. Maybe it's you just like pure silence, right? Or you like to sit and listen to classical music. Whatever it is, something that is peaceful to you. And then sit there and consider what feelings you want to experience the most in your life. And I'm going to go through a list, and I'll post a list in the show notes so you can go through it in your own time as well. In case you're driving somewhere and you literally can't do this right now. Go through this list and sit with each feeling and emotion in the list and notice how your body feels when you consider this emotion in your life. If there is a sinking feeling or a tightening somewhere or a feeling of expansiveness or another noticeable feeling that goes on for you. Maybe your face distorts and crumples. Maybe you purse your lips. Perhaps it's a smile, or you just sink into your chair and feel really relaxed. What goes on in your head? Okay, what are you thinking when you think about this emotion, this feeling? And sometimes it's helpful to go back to a time that you remember feeling this way to help you really feel into that emotion now. I want you to think about how you feel when you consider experiencing more of these feelings in your life moving forwards. So how would you feel if there was more stress in your life? Overwhelm, tiredness, grief, shame, sadness, anger, fear, disgust, disappointment, regret, anxiety, annoyance, or loneliness. And how would you feel if you experienced more hope, joy, a sense of achievement, pride, comfort, awe, euphoria, contentment, self-assuredness, happiness, admiration, gratitude, satisfaction, amusement, love, a feeling of being relaxed. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I just noticed as I was recording this, that when I read the first set, let's group them as swaying to more negative feelings, I wasn't smiling, and it was almost like sullen, like reading out all these less than ideal states of being. But then when I read out the second set, the, swaying to more positive emotion, I was smiling. I felt happy and calm, and like the words just came out easier. I don't know whether you guys heard that. I don't know. I'm not going to listen to it back to see, but I felt it. So going back to this point, as you go through those feelings, what feelings did you crumple your face up at the idea of experiencing more of? What gave you a sinking feeling because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want any more regret. I don't want any more loneliness. I don't, I've had enough grief. The feelings that don't sit right with you, do less of that. And then the feelings that you felt like you were lit up, you felt light, you felt expansive, the things that you want to experience more of in your life. What leads to that? When was the last time you felt something like that? And then do more of that. It sounds simple, and it really is. Obviously, and I want to put this in here, we still need those other emotions and feelings that aren't always positive. And they will come and go through your life. But the important takeaway here is that you don't need the negative in abundance. You don't need the negative more than necessary. You don't need copious amounts of stress. You don't need to sit in overwhelm longer than necessary. When we have these emotions that feel less than ideal, we need to notice the emotion first. And we need to experience it and let it pass through us fully. We deal with it if we need to. So sometimes we need to deal with overwhelm, we need to deal with stress. We don't necessarily need to deal with grief. We need to sit with it. We need to feel it. And then we can move back to equilibrium, into a neutral or even a positive state again. And this could take seconds, minutes, weeks. It depends what it is and how we move through it. But going back to the car analogy, with the driver, getting back in the driver's seat, taking control of the wheel, I would love to be the sat-nav on your journey, right? To peeling away your layers and helping you learn more about who you are and how you want to be. And I have space right now to work with you on your journey of self-discovery, leveling up and finding the key to unlocking your full potential in life as well as business. And I would love to chat to you. I have availability to grab a virtual coffee and have a conversation with you about whether coaching is for you, see whether we're a good fit, and for me to answer any questions you might have. The link will be in the show notes along with the list of emotions that I went through before, and you can add more. You can change those as well. If you've got different emotions you want to put in or different words for it, go ahead, make it fit you. And if you're listening to this after June 2022, when this episode was released, the link is the same, okay? If you want to grab a coffee and see if coaching is right for you. If I have space at that time, there's going to be the option to book a chilled out call with me. And of course, for everybody else, you can always find me over on Instagram at Sarah Joyce Hindle. That's where I hang out the most. Come and say hi. And I just want to finish off with a statement. You have more control over your life and your feelings than you realize. Take care.